What would you say is the number one factor that causes accidents, more specifically fatalities?
Honestly, I'll be quite honest with you. Here lately, it's been speed.
Okay.
You know, some alcohol related stuff, but the majority of them have been speed.
Welcome back to the Long Code Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Officer Jared Weston with our traffic division. He's going to talk about all the ins and outs of the traffic unit, what they do, the units within that division, enforcement, accident investigation, vehicle crimes unit, as well as hit and run investigations. Ultimately, we're going to talk about safety tips, some stories that he's actually experienced through his career. It's going to be a great podcast. Stick around.
You are clear for Long Code.
Well, hey, as you know, the Garland Police Department has so many divisions and units, and today we have one of our traffic officers, Officer Jared Weston. Jared, welcome to the show, man. We are excited to have you on here. The traffic division is one of those that a lot of people have questions about. And so, and as you know, on the GPD Long Code Podcast, we talk about all things that are happening inside the walls and ultimately how we work together with the community and keeping our community safe. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, how long have you been with the force?
I've been a little over 35 years, but I can't count all that time.
Okay.
34 to be exact.
34. All here in Garland?
All here with Garland PD. So I worked in the jail, started in 89.
Okay.
Worked there for almost a year, but then it was a temporary full-time position, and the person that I was filling in for was injured, and she came back.
Okay.
So they didn't have a spot for me, so I left. I went to the county for about a year, and then while I was at the county, they called me and said, hey, she's decided she can't do the job anymore, so we would like you to come back. So I came back. Then I worked in the jail for about 3 years, and then I went to the academy.
And today you are, your rank is?
I'm just an officer assigned to the traffic division.
Assigned to the traffic division. Okay. And so that's interesting. So did you always want to be a police officer? Because you said you were in the start of the jail.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a police officer. So
okay.
My dad was a fireman and an officer at the same time, so I kind of gravitated towards the law enforcement side. So
any, disputes at the house between fire and police?
Oh, well, yeah, my oldest boy's a fireman, so yeah, there's always got to jack with him a little bit.
I love that. And just so just so you folks know, police and fire, there's always disputes between them, but here in the Metroplex, man, we get along so well.
We do.
You know, and here in Garland, the Garland Fire Department and us, we work really well together. We have each other's back, and there's just friendly, I would call them family rivalries in a sense.
A little friendly banter.
A little friendly banter, exactly. Okay, so you've been here 34 years.
34.
Okay, and that's kind of what we talk about as far as the traffic division. But before we get to that, let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk a little bit more about you, hobbies. Because obviously you're a police officer. I mean, you've been 34 years. Home life, hobbies.
I used to like to hunt and fish.
Okay.
But a lot of that kind of went wayside when my kids came around. You know, you got to make your priorities right for your kids. And so they all played sports. And so we focused on time with them with sports. And my youngest one's playing college soccer. And so I spend my time, traveling to his games,
Here in the state?
They're in the state, yeah.
Okay. I bet that's exciting. I mean,
we went out of state a little bit, but most of the games are here in the state.
Okay, so basically it's family. I mean, that's your
that's
your life outside of work.
That's my life outside of work is, it's always been that way for the last 10 to 12 years. He's playing select soccer and academy soccer, and so that's all we do.
I mean, your hobbies is your family. I mean,
it
that
is.
Right there, in my opinion, that's an interesting fact.
I mean, this job takes so much from your family life that, and I'll be honest with you, in the very beginning, I probably put too much into this job and not enough into my family. And so it took a while for me to realize, hey, your family is what will be there, and your kids are only little for so long.
Life goes on, man,
It does.
And it doesn't stop. But you've had a great career here. Let's go back to work here. I mean, obviously, family life, that's an important priority to you, and I love that. Totally respect that. And let's talk about here in the traffic division, which is what we're talking about today. Okay. So the traffic division is something that is made up of not just one responsibility. So tell us about the traffic division here in Garland.
I mean, we have dual purpose Yeah, nobody likes to get a ticket, but our job is to enforce traffic law, and that is there for a reason. It's to try to reduce the amount of crashes that we have to work. The biggest function of the traffic division is you have to complete. I think it's 3. They're mandated 3 different courses. You have to complete, intermediate crash investigation, and advanced crash investigation and reconstruction.
Okay.
And then we work all fatality crashes.
In the division as well, we have a couple of different things. We also have hit and run.
We have hit and run, and we have a new position that's been created in the last, 4, maybe 5 years. It's an investigator specifically for vehicle crimes. The hit and run falls under the vehicle crimes unit, and we all are kind of under the vehicle crimes unit. But there's one investigator that gets any report that's made in the city that a vehicle is used on, like evading arrest. He'll get those cases if they're not filed to follow up on it, see if he can find something on it. Any kind of aggravated assault. Where a vehicle is used.
Like somebody trying to run somebody over?
Somebody trying to run somebody over, he'll get assigned that case.
Okay.
And then all of our fatalities, if they are a chargeable offense, if there's a chargeable offense, that investigator will be involved in that case some way, somehow.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack here because
There is.
There's the things that you guys investigate. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Enforcing law, traffic laws. Okay, because obviously we're going to go down the line, but why do we enforce traffic laws? I know people always ask all the time. In all the community groups that we talk about just crime prevention and safety, but traffic laws. Why do we write tickets?
I mean, it's truly to reduce crime. I mean, everybody's going to have their argument that they're just out trying to make money. Well, I'm not out trying to make money because I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
My job is I don't want to be knocking on your door at 2:00 in the morning, letting you know that your 18 or 16-year-old child is deceased because somebody wasn't paying attention and ran a red light.
And that's a powerful statement. I think a lot of times people don't realize speed being a factor when it comes to crashes.
Speed's a huge factor when it comes to crashes.
Okay.
Huge factor. There's, I would say, and everybody's distracted. I mean, just think about this. When you pull up an intersection, look around. Look and see what people are doing. They're on their phones.
No, people don't do that.
Oh, they do.
Come on,
They
really?
do. They're distracted. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody's guilty of it.
Oh, yeah.
But, some people are so engrossed in their phone that they don't realize what they're doing. I mean, I've stopped cars just this week that are driving through the school zone. They're looking down, or they got their phone up where they're trying to, keep an eye on the road, but they got their phone up in their face because they're looking at it like that. They're still distracted.
So speaking of phones, okay, obviously the state of Texas passed a law several years ago talking about you can't do any kind of written communication, whether it be texting or reading, okay? But school zones, completely different story.
It is. You can't use your phone in a school zone.
Period.
If it's in your hand and they're looking at it and I can articulate it, then I'm going to stop you.
Right. Man, it's just, I think you're hitting a couple nails in the head here as far as, speed being one factor, distracted driving being another factor. And I would say the majority of distracted driving, in my opinion, is cell phone usage.
I've got several cases, and I'll pick Garland Road for an example. Okay. So Garland Road, if nobody's ever driven down Garland Road between Miller and Kingsley, there's hills.
Right.
And it's got, valleys and all that. And my argument is you can't fail to yield right away to something that you can't see. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is down in one of those gullies down at the very bottom and they're driving twice the speed limit and somebody makes a turn up ahead of them because it's clear, and then the car appears because it's driving twice the speed limit and it T-bones the other car and if someone is killed, is it their fault because they failed to yield right away? I don't know. You have to do the investigation in the crash to see. Because if you can articulate that car was not visible, then how are they at fault for turning when the car wasn't visible?
And I think to your point, the whole purpose of that unit, of your unit, the traffic unit, is to prevent things like that happening.
Correct. That is why we enforce speed, And I'm one of those guys that I strictly work only hazardous violation. That's just me personally. Speeding, red light, seat belts. A lot of people say, well, it's their right to not wear a seatbelt. Yeah, that's true, but it's a state law, and I don't want to have to go knock on your wife's door because you weren't wearing your seatbelt when you were driving home from work because it was your choice, and now she's alone raising their kids. I don't want to do that anymore.
What would you say is the number one factor that causes accidents, more specifically fatalities?
Honestly, I'll be quite honest with you. Here lately, it's been speed.
Okay.
Some alcohol related stuff, but the majority of them have been speed.
Right. Okay. And so let's kind of change gears a little bit here. Talking about speed, warnings. Because you say enforcing the law for the purpose of people slowing down. What about warnings?
And we can give warnings.
Okay. Why not just give warnings?
Because it doesn't always work.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't correct behavior. Someone might get a warning. I was like, hey, I didn't get a ticket this time, so they continue speeding. It doesn't really necessarily correct the behavior.
I mean, I'll give you for instance. So today, specifically,
okay.
I'm driving down roadway and clock a motorcycle. He's speeding. He's watching, and he sees me. I hit my brakes to start to turn around on him, and he almost kills himself by slamming on the brakes. And his back wheel washes out, and he's trying to get off into the neighborhood to elude me, right. In my opinion,
Sure.
But he was almost going to kill himself because he knew what he had, and he ended up not having a driver's license that was clear, didn't have insurance, and so he's out here driving. He's driving over the speed limit. He's putting himself in danger, other people in danger, and he doesn't have insurance. So if he was to hit somebody, who's going to be paying for that?
Right.
So.
And when it comes down to, fatality crashes, a motorcycle, those drivers are more likely not to survive.
They are.
A crash, especially involving speed. So what can drivers do for, motorcycle drivers who are obeying the law to help them? Because, one thing I was heard a long time ago is like if you're a driver of a motorcycle, you have to drive around as if like you're invisible to everybody else.
I would agree with that 100%.
Okay.
100%. You still have to so I teach driving as well for the academy. And one of the things that we stress on that is what they call intersection cover. And what that means is if you're entering an intersection or coming up on a cross street and you see a vehicle appear, you should always expect that vehicle to pull out in front of you.
Yeah.
So take your foot off the accelerator, cover the brake, because it takes an adult, or not even an adult, but a 16-year-old driver who's in good physical health, 1.5 seconds to react to something that happens. So it's your time for your brain to decipher what's happening and tell your foot to move from the accelerator to the brake to brake. So how much ground are you going to travel in a second and a half? You travel a lot of ground in a second and a half.
Yeah, what's funny is that, my kids are at that age now that they have a driver's permit. And we talk about defensive driving, because there's so many aggressive drivers out there and things to that effect. And so you can only control your own behavior. You can't control the driver of anybody else out there, but you can control the way you drive. And the brake cover was one of the things that we talked about as well, especially when making curbs or you're in a neighborhood and there's cars parked on both sides of the street, drive cautiously and things to that effect. It's something that scares me to death, especially because my kids are not driving.
Yeah.
And so I drive it in their head on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a new experience for me being a dad of a teenager who's driving. And so
yeah, I've been through two of them, man. I tell them, I said, you're not invincible.
No.
And now my youngest one is, driving 3 hours away to college and down a highway, and I have to tell him, I said, it's not your driving that concerns me.
Yeah.
It's other people's driving that concerns me.
And that's just the reality of life. Driving is a privilege.
It is.
And it's you have to do certain things to get that thing. And so we want everyone to be safe. And so coming back to what we do here when it comes to driving, talk about warnings. Trenton was asking me earlier today, Trenton, what was that question you asked me about warnings?
So how many warnings can I get before it turns into a ticket?
Well,
that's the $1 million question, man.
How many warnings have you had? Does it take more than one?
Well, they say 3 strikes and you're out. So is that
Well,
still
obviously
applies?
That's baseball.
not-
That's baseball.
the baseball.
You're not
That's
correcting your
baseball.
behavior. So, sometimes getting a ticket, if it affects your pocketbook, it might correct the behavior. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I stopped that just absolutely are losing their mind because they're on deferred adjudication for a ticket, and they're out here still committing traffic violations, and that's not. I have both of them on my record. Probably. I mean, my wife gets upset with me because she goes, "You drive like an old man." I go, "Well, all right. Well, I am a little bit older, but
That's great.
I mean, I have to drive over the speed limit occasionally at work to catch up to a vehicle, but I don't like doing it.
Right.
I don't, and so I dang sure don't do it when I'm off.
Right. And you drive. Okay, let's rewind for a second.
Okay.
Because there's different kinds of police cars out there. So there's mark squads, obviously the ones that have the paint on them. They'll be black or white, whatever it is. Ours are black, and they have the actual Garland Police logo on the side. But what other cars do we have?
We have some slick cars
Okay.
that are unmarked. Some of the supervisors drive them. Some of our gang unit drives those. But my car specifically is what they call a ghosted decal on there. So basically, it's a silver that kind of blends into the vehicle, but it's reflective, so it's seen a lot better at night.
Yeah.
But it is ghosted.
Yes. It's ghosted during the daylight.
It is
However,
ghosted.
at night, it's actually
very-
brighter than the mark squad.
It is
car.
brighter than Mark Squads at night.
I actually drive an unmarked car. But as to your point, first of all, we have a spotlight, okay, over the driver's side window. And then if you look at the car, you'll see like under the back, there's like lights that are actually protruding a little bit on the sides and the baseboards through the windows.
Oh, yeah. There's lights all over those cars.
Yeah, you can't miss it. If you were paying attention.
Paying attention
is a key thing
is
here.
a key thing.
Yeah. And so what's funny is the fact that, we're held to a higher standard. And so occasionally, as you mentioned, you have to drive a little faster to get to a call or whatnot. And I don't think that everyone in the community understands that. Why are we not running with red and blue lights and the sirens if we have to go drive above the speed limit? That's a question that some people ask.
I mean, I'll give my opinion is if I'm really going to have to exceed the speed limit to catch up to somebody, I'm going to run lights and sirens. I can do that, okay, so that I'm visible. But if I'm trying to catch up to a speeder, like I'll give you, for instance, that motorcycle today, okay, when he came back out of the neighborhood where I was sitting up watching, he didn't know I was there. And so I crept up behind him, sneaking in behind cars and all that, because I didn't want him to take off and run on me when I was blocked by a car. So when I had the opportunity to get around those cars, then I lit up and went around the cars and got him before he could take off.
Right.
So there are reasons why you don't turn your lights and siren on for certain reasons. And especially if you're going to let's just say a burglary, you don't really want them to know that you're coming. So you don't turn your lights and siren on.
Yeah, they're already committing the crime. If you are alerting them with the lights and sirens that you're on your way, they're going to be able to leave before we get there, which means the criminal goes free.
Correct.
And we have to do more investigation behind in the back channels. But and same thing with a robbery. Sometimes we want people to know that we're coming, especially if it's like an aggravated assault in progress. We want people to know, hey, police are coming, man. Stop the assault, and because our job is to help and save lives.
Correct.
So there's so many different things. To
I mean,
unload.
it's common sense. You have to weigh it a little bit. And like, if I'm really going to have to exceed the speed limit to catch up to somebody, I'm going to light up. That it may cause them to take off from me, and if I lose them, then I'll lose them, and I'll go back and I'll find somebody else.
Right. You ever get the excuse, when you pull somebody over in a pack of cars, they say, "Man, I was just going with traffic."
Well, so let's talk about that. So the majority of us in the unit use LiDAR.
Okay.
Which is a laser, okay, and it works off light. And so it clocks one vehicle at a time. And so there's a pack of cars. I can go from car to car. As long as I have a clear sight to that vehicle, I can move car to car to car to car and track them.
So distinguish that between the radar.
So a radar works off radio waves. And so it goes out in a cone, radio waves, and it hits the car and it bounces back. And I'm not an instructor in that, so I don't know all the technical terms on it,
Right,
but
sure.
It hits the car and it bounces back and it registers the speed. But the LiDAR is all done internally. So when I clock the car, it measures it takes 2 pulses from the first time it hits it to the second time, and it measures the distance that car travels in that time frame, and that's how it calculates the speed. I mean, it's instantaneous. It's the speed of light.
Yeah, you can't say, "Oh no, I mean, it wasn't me. It was you."
It's more clear because I'm looking through a scope and I'm putting the dot on your vehicle, and it registers the speed, and I can see it in the scope, and then it locks it on the back of the LiDAR.
Well, what about the excuse? Hey, man, everyone was driving the same speed.
Yeah, probably not. If it's just so the way so if you look at it like this, if
Right.
a car in front of you is running 40 and you're running 55, and I can articulate that because you were gaining ground on that vehicle,
Sure.
then you weren't driving
Exactly.
the same as everybody else. Or if you're overtaking that vehicle, passing that vehicle, then you're driving faster than that vehicle.
Yeah, and so I guess ultimately, if everyone's speeding, you can only catch one.
True. I mean, there are times where there'll be cars side by side, and I clock them, and I only can get one.
Yeah.
You know, if there's 3 or 4 cars that run a red light, it's almost like fishing. You can only catch one at a time.
Yeah, unless you have multiple hooks.
If you got, there might be multiple.
There might be multiple officers out there as well.
So I mean, you can only catch what you can catch. So.
All right. So good stuff about speeding. Writing tickets, why we enforce laws, accident investigation. So why are you guys the ones that go out on fatality crashes? So
the traffic division has, like I said, you have to go to the schools. You have to work all those, and it teaches you how to investigate the crashes. There's a lot that goes into, especially now. It has changed tremendously since even I came into the unit.
How so?
Well, in 2000, I want to say 2012. I may be wrong on the year, but I think 2012, okay. The federal government mandated that all new vehicles produced after 2012 have to have what they call an ACM in it, which is an airbag control module, or ECM, EDR, electronic data recorder, which is, it just gathers information on the vehicle. So if you're involved in a crash and the airbags deploy, or hard braking, or you hit a bump really hard, it wakes this computer up. Hey, there's something not right here. It wakes the computer up and it starts recording data.
Something not normal. Right.
So it starts recording data. It's almost, some people attribute it or compare it to like the black box in an airplane.
Okay.
It's not the same thing. Kind of, sort of, it is, but it's gathering information like speed, were seatbelts on the passengers in the vehicle, whichever seats that it will record that off of. Did the airbags deploy? And it's tracking this stuff in milliseconds. And so there's just a lot of data that can be obtained in a vehicle. So that's where the investigation has really turned over the years and we're filing more cases now because we have a lot more data to use to build these cases with.
Wow. Okay. So that technology right there alone can tell you so much, especially if you're investigating whether or not, or I guess who was at fault.
Correct.
The speed or the way that the vehicle's maneuvering, perhaps. But you mentioned something about filing charges.
Correct.
Okay. So walk me through that, because there's a lot to unpack there.
There's a lot in a crash. A straight run and just regular crash out there on a daily basis. It happens all the time. There's civil,
right?
Okay, unless there's a crime committed.
So real quick, yeah. So many people today, they think that, okay, we need to write the person a ticket for this and this and this. How come this wasn't done? Whatever it is, it's a crash. And I think you hit the correct word there. It's civil.
It is
a
civil.
Crash itself is not a criminal act. Okay, now there's some criminal acts that could lead up to the crash. Like excessive speed,
right.
Intoxication.
Someone runs a red light. Is that a criminal offense? It is a Class C misdemeanor.
Correct.
Okay, so we can write a ticket for that.
Right.
But is that in itself is filing charges?
Right.
Basically, they're not guilty of it until they're, found guilty of it by, a jury or the court.
Right.
At a later time.
Right.
But it is a causation. If I find that it's a causation of the crash, I typically will write the ticket on any wreck that I work if it's the causation of the crash.
Okay.
And I was trained like that a long time ago, because there are insurance companies out there that will not take responsibility for their insured's part in the crash if a ticket's not written.
Okay.
Because they're going to say, well, the officer didn't write the ticket, so why should we take responsibility for it?
Sure.
So the way I was trained is if it's a causation of the crash, you write the ticket. That's just how I was taught.
Right. And I mean, either way, I mean, it's still a civil matter.
It is a civil matter.
And when we actually fill out an accident or a crash report, it is our opinion based on the evidence we gathered at the scene.
Correct.
Explain
That's
that
where
real quick.
people.
Yeah, explain that real quick.
So insurance companies can ultimately still say, we're not paying for it because it's their opinion. Just like the crash in itself is my opinion. Right. So it's just an opinion.
Right.
But it's based upon the information that we gathered at the scene. So I think if the officer writes a good enough report to articulate what happened so that when I'm reading the narrative of the report and I'm looking at the diagram, there's no question on what happened. Right. You're probably not going to get any pushback from insurance companies.
Right.
But there are times that does happen. And sometimes they turn into civil lawsuits where you have to be deposed and you have to go. And so that's why I feel, and I learned a long time ago, write a good report so that if there's any questions, you remember what happened based upon your report so that when you're asked that question in a deposition, you can answer it.
Right. So moving on in the same topic, when an accident occurs, obviously charges can be filed. You know, for instance, excessive speed, somebody, going 3 times the amount of speed limit. If they're going, the speed limit is 40, they're going 60, 80 miles an hour, they crash into somebody. That's, we call them the elements of the crime or the mental state. Recklessness, intentionality, whether
it's the culpable mental states, which is going to be criminally negligent,
right,
intentionally, knowingly, and there's one more,
recklessly.
Right. So I think the order of them are criminally negligent, recklessly, intentionally, and knowingly.
Right. And intentional, nobody intends to crash into somebody else for the most part. Okay, so
but then if it is intentional,
correct,
it's not a crash.
That's right. Now it's an assault.
It's an assault.
Right. I mean, somebody using a car to run somebody else over.
And that's why they created a portion of our unit to investigate those because now it is a vehicle being used as a weapon. And so it's an intentional act, which would make it like an aggravated assault.
Correct. Which is obviously immediately a higher charge.
Correct.
Okay. And so obviously intoxication, that's a no-brainer. If you're driving while intoxicated, you get into a crash, you're going to bite the bullet. Hopefully, nobody's hurt or injured or killed.
An interesting fact about DWI involving an accident is you can be DWI and be hit by another car and not at fault, but you can still be charged with DWI.
Right.
But
right,
if you are the vehicle that's considered the at-fault vehicle and cause an accident, in the investigation, you have to be able to, and if someone's injured in that crash, you have to be able to articulate that the accident occurred because of their impairment.
Correct.
So that's a part of the intoxication side of intoxication assault or intoxication manslaughter.
Right.
You have to prove that their intoxicated state is what led to the crash.
Right. Okay. So bottom story is people do not drink and drive.
Yeah, don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. There's so many options today. You got rideshare, Lyft, taxis. I don't even know if taxis even exist anymore, but they do. I think they still do.
I think before too long we're going to have
little drones,
drone taxis,
drone taxis taking you and flying you from one place to the next. Avoid all traffic whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. So most egregious type of accidents where someone gets seriously injured or killed and charges are filed, they're lower on the percentage as far as what we do. However, accidents occur all the time.
They do.
What should people do if they get involved in an accident?
Well, number one, if your car is drivable, get off the roadway.
Okay.
Be safe. Don't just think, well, I got to tell the officers exactly what happened. Yeah. I can see the damage on the vehicle. I can understand listening to you, but it's not worth standing in the middle of the roadway. There's already been one accident there. People are impatient today, and they get frustrated when traffic backs up, and another accident can happen. And if you, for whatever reason, you can't get your vehicle out of the roadway, don't stand in the roadway between your vehicles. Get off the roadway to where it's safe so that if your car is hit again, you're not hit in the process.
Get off the roadway altogether.
All the way.
And that could actually...
It is the state law that if your vehicles are drivable, that you need to get off the road.
Okay. There
to
you
be
go.
safe.
There you go. Get off the road. So, but if you're in the middle of the highway, say for instance, LBJ, okay, and you're on the far left side, you get in a crash, and you're rear-end and your car is disabled. You can't move the car. What should that driver do?
Well, if you can't get off the highway physically safely, then you're safer inside your vehicle than you are outside your vehicle.
Right.
I don't like it. It's still dangerous.
Right.
But turn your hazards on. Do everything you can to notify the other drivers that there's a disabled vehicle in the roadway. I can't tell you how many fatalities I've worked from disabled vehicles on the highway where drivers were outside the car trying to help other people and they get hit.
Call 911. There's emergency services that will bring in blocker vehicles. TxDOT, they have volunteer vehicles that come out there and will block traffic until authorities get there. So, yeah, get out of the roadway. And so, but in a minor accident, so moving on, minor accident, get off the roadway. Now what?
Call the police if you need to, exchange information. If nobody's hurt and you can do it calmly and not argumentative with the other person, exchange information, because that's what we're going to do when we get there. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to have y'all exchange information.
With a mediator at that point in time. Which, hey, give him your insurance and your license and vice versa.
Some people argue, well, I need an accident report. My insurance company requires an accident report. Well, your insurance company can't require an accident report because accident reports are for statistical purposes only. Right. That's the only reason why there's accident reports.
Right.
Because it's a civil matter. It's a civil matter.
Which is what insurance companies are handle anyways, mostly civil issues. Accidents that occur, whether it be weather, but in this specific scenario, it's about cars crashing into another. The driver being at fault, whether they're at fault or not, an accident occurred. And so, they just want the information. And so usually they're going to just defer to the driver's opinion anyways, what happened, and then go look at the evidence, take photos.
Yeah,
take photos. Nowadays, everyone's got a phone in their pocket, has a camera. And so take photos of that and just document exactly what happened. Get off the roadway, exchange information with no injuries. But if someone's hurt,
call 911. Let them know you're hurt.
Get an ambulance out there.
Get an ambulance out there. We'll get out there, and if it's serious enough, then we'll make the crash report and just to document it and get the person the help they need and move on down the road.
Exactly. Now you've been in the unit for how long now?
18.
18 years. 18 years in traffic unit. So you've seen a lot of stuff out there.
I have.
Give me a pet peeve of yours.
Honestly, it's going to be kids standing up, loose in a car, not in child safety seats or seat belted in a car the way they're supposed to be. That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Okay. I love that because, truly, I'm driven around, off duty.
Look.
And you see kids hopping around in the back seat.
I tell people all the time, just get off your phone when you get to an intersection and just look around. Just be observant. You'll be shocked at what you see at an intersection just looking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. People looking at their phones, kids hopping around. Yeah, so many things to observe.
Just the other day I was coming back from training. I was in my squad, not in uniform, and I'm next to the car, and the driver's giving me that what I would refer to as, don't look at them, they won't see me. Don't look at them, they won't see me. The look. And I'm looking over there, and the lady in the back seat there's a child safety seat in the back seat, but it's not in the carrier the way it's supposed to be. They got the seat turned where the baby's facing them where they can attend to the baby.
Yeah.
And the driver's over here. They know, but they're just.
Seatbelts, they save lives. And kids, they don't know any better.
They don't.
And so you tell them to put a seatbelt on, guess what? They'll put a seatbelt on. You train them from when they're young, let them know. That way they're not going to argue about it, and you explain the risk to it. But we lead by example.
We do.
When you yourself don't put your seatbelt on, that whole saying, do as I say, not as I do, it reigns true to an extent.
It does.
And so, I don't know. I love that pet peeve because, the kids, they can't take care of themselves. They don't know right from wrong. They have not seen it.
They're taught.
Yes.
Right from
they're
wrong.
taught. I got some pet peeves. I got a lot of pet peeves. But they're not like to that, obviously. But like at nighttime, high beams. I can't stand it when the other traffic does not turn their high beams down to low. And so it just irritates me to no end. And now today with the white lights it makes it even brighter. It just irritates
You know
me
what's?
all
And
in.
I got the other day. It happened to me. And my wife's car is one of those that has all those sensors on it, where when it senses it's too dark, it turns the brights on.
Yeah.
Automatically. I don't have anything to do with it. Well, there was a curve, and it was dark, and the bright lights came on. And then when the truck that was coming the other way, when those lights come around, it turned them off. Well, the truck was mad because I had the bright lights come on, and he turned his bright lights on to blind me completely. And I just tell people, man, just take a deep breath and think about if it was you.
Right.
How would you want someone to react to you?
Right, exactly. Nowadays, people, as you mentioned, are so sensitive that they lose it when something happens and they don't like.
Exactly. But that's how road rage happened.
Yeah.
I saw one today kind of developing, and I was sitting there watching it to see what it was two trucks that were going from 2 lanes into one, and the other one, I'm just not going to let them in front of me. I got to beat them up there. I'm just like, really?
That's insane.
Well, what do you do in that situation? What do you do when the road's going from 2 lane to 1 lane? How should I, as a driver?
I would,
Do we speed up? Do we try to cut the other car off?
Yeah.
just slow down.
Do I let people in? Do I not
Just
let
people in? Just slow down. Just slow down and let the other car go. Why do you have to win?
Yeah, it's not an ego test, man. It's not a challenge of egos. It's not a test of pride.
Just let it
here.
go. Hey, don't get me wrong. And when you're young, it's I don't know, is it a macho thing or whatever? But the older you get, the more mature you get, and it's just trying to teach that to trying to teach it to my kids.
Yeah.
Just let the other car go. If someone's acting crazy, just slow down, let them go around you, let them move on.
It's not worth the risk. I mean,
It's
you don't know
not nowadays.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on in the other person's car. So rise above. Be the one that's going to make things calm. I think that's one of the things in our training now. It's all about de-escalation.
Right.
Because we can escalate a situation or we can easily de-escalate a situation depending on how we talk to somebody. Communication, man, that's so key.
is.
But how we respond on cars the exact same way. Your actions. If you're going to start driving aggressive because someone cut you off, they may not even have known. They were paying attention to their cell phone, and all of a sudden they didn't do it on purpose, but now your response is to cut them off or tailgate them or slow down in front of them.
Exactly.
And it leads to something that could potentially be so bad where somebody is going to get seriously hurt.
One thing I'm curious about, you were talking about one of your kids having to drive a couple of hours for college now, and commercial vehicles are on those long stretches of roads. How do I drive around commercial vehicles? What things should I look out for?
So for me personally, I try to stay, if I'm going to pass an 18-wheeler, I stay back behind it until it's clear enough for me to get around them, because I don't want to be next to them and get stuck in traffic, and then I'm in their blind spot and they don't see me, and there's a concrete wall on one side of me and an 18-wheeler on the other side. I don't want to be stuck in that situation. So I wait till I can safely get around them, and then I go around them.
So that's a great lead into this, because we actually do have a commercial motor vehicle enforcement officer.
Correct.
And it's Officer Crockett.
Correct.
So you at one point in time were
I was
a commercial vehicle inspector. So tell us about that. What goes into all that? Obviously,
there's a lot of schooling, and it opens your eyes into 18-wheelers are just dangerous. You have to spend money on those 18-wheelers to make money. And what I mean by that is you have to spend money to keep them up in good operational condition to be able to make money to drive down the road.
right.
And so there are carriers out there that don't want to spend the money. And in case in point, it was a big carrier. Honestly, I don't remember the name of the company, but when I was in school, I had to go to Austin that was 3 different schools, and I think I spent like a month down there in training overall. But they tell you when you get up underneath and you're doing the inspection up underneath the trailer, you're looking at cracks in the frame. You're looking at you're measuring the brakes to see if they're within tolerance. You have to know what size brakes they are to know where the tolerance level is. And it's been a while since I've done it.
Right.
But the very first trailer I ever crawled up underneath and looked at it, I'm up underneath there with my instructor, and I'm going, hey, is that right there? Is that a crack in the frame? He's like, yep, get out from underneath it. And as soon as you see a crack in the frame on one of those, it's automatically get out from underneath it. Inspection's done. The trucks or the trailer's out of service. It can't travel anymore down the road. It has to be towed. because they're so dangerous. And the reason that they do that now in that school is that they had one years prior to my school where they saw the crack, got everybody out from underneath it, and were pulling it off to the side to get it out of the way, and it collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
So that's they are dangerous.
Yeah.
And it was just neglect on the carrier's part, because what happens when those 18-wheelers back up into the unload, they bump those little bumpers on the building. They bump it, and over a period of time, it puts stress on the frame, or it's overloaded. You can see 18-wheelers that run down the road where the sheet metal on the outside is bowed, and that was because something was not strapped down on the inside correctly, and it slid around and hit the side, and it bowed the sheet metal out.
So there's a lot of different laws surrounding commercial motor vehicles.
There are, and it's changing all the time. That was one of the reasons why I gave it up. My kids were little, and there's so much information that you have to stay up on top of it to know it. Officer Crockett is well known across the state. He trains other people, and he's very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, and I've been to his presentations going to these corporations that actually utilize commercial motor vehicles to transport their goods. And, man, I'm telling you, they are so grateful. As a matter of fact, I went to one. I'm not going to say the company. Went to one. The vehicle had just come out of actually being fully inspected by their shop, and they used it as an actual demonstration for him to share what was going on and what he looks for. And sure enough, he's going around, and he immediately points out that this right here, this is a violation. This right here is a safety violation. And the people were like blown away because that vehicle had just been serviced to be put back on the street. And so I think it's just it's
education.
It is education. But it's one of those things that you can't be overlooked. You can't look at it and just kind of shrug your shoulders. You actually have to take it seriously, because any vehicle can kill. I mean, the weight of the vehicle, they're just driving, they're missiles that are just at
they
high.
are.
But the commercial motor vehicles, I mean, semis, 18-wheelers, even like the dump trucks.
80,000 pounds.
Yes. They hit anything. It's just the chances of survival are slim to none. So I get it. And, I'm grateful for officers like you who went through the school, and Officer Crockett who still does it today, and all the other ones out there, because it doesn't take but one little misstep for that vehicle to cause something so catastrophic that it can impact the lives of so many.
It's never happened to me, but actually I was on the phone with my son the other day, and he was passing an 18-wheeler when a tire blew out next to him, and he said it was so loud, and that they felt the pressure of the air hit the side of the car.
Did it like make the car move a little
Yeah.
bit? Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we've been talking for long. I mean, we have so much to cover here, or we've covered so much. Tell me an interesting professional story, something that you looking back over your career. It doesn't have to be traffic specific, but something in your career that you look back and say, "Man, wow, this is something that will always stick with me for the rest of my life."
Well, I mean, for me, as long as I've been in traffic, the worst thing for me was being called out for Crystal Nuncio's wreck. That will always stick with me. There's just certain things about that wreck that stick with me, and it was May 16th of 2015, and it happened at 5:16 a.m. So it was 5:16:15 at 5:16. I mean, there's just little bitty things like that always stick with me that you'll never forget.
And for those who don't know, Crystal Nuncio, she was a dispatcher here, and she was on her way to work.
She was.
And just loved and respected. And we're going to have dispatchers on our show later on, talk more about what they do. But, I mean, she just was a tremendous impact. And I can only imagine, I was a lieutenant. I was a new lieutenant in patrol when that happened. And I can just imagine, especially you having to work it, how impactful it was.
It was impactful in my career. You don't realize how, I don't know, all those wrecks are, affect you in some way when you see the certain things, but when you know the person personally,
Right.
it changes it a lot.
What happened? What led to that crash? I mean,
It was a DWI driving the wrong way on the LBJ.
wrong way on LBJ.
Yep, we tracked him by witnesses and 911 calls. I think we got him all the way coming on the highway the wrong way, somewhere around Skillman and LBJ. We were able to track 911 calls from Dallas. Was actually on their way to the wreck or to the wrong way driver prior to us having the wreck in Garland. Dallas is actually first on scene because
they were there.
They were on the way to the wrong way driver on LBJ. Yeah. And it's tragic for anybody, but just I think knowing the person changes how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't really know that. I mean, I back when I was an MPO, my biggest thing's always been traffic, and why that is, I really don't know. But one of my FTOs a couple of my FTOs were big in writing tickets and working wrecks and things like that. But we focused all hot and heavy when I was an MPO because one of the districts I had on the street racing.
Yes.
And we did a lot of projects on street racing back in the day.
Which is illegal.
It is illegal.
Street racing is illegal.
And I think
go to jail for that.
Thinking about that, one of the things that I did when it was funny how it affected me was I put a big project together and had squads and officers hiding it. I got buildings and companies to cooperate with us, and we had access to inside their buildings, and we put cars inside buildings. And we had hundreds of squad cars packed away inside these certain buildings in the area, and then we had people up watching. I was in plain clothes out amongst all the people street racing, and I was
spectators,
and I was posing as a college student needing some video for my class to do a presentation, and I was right out there with the flagman videoing.
Are you serious?
I was right out there in the middle of it. And when it was funny is when I gave I don't even remember what the word was, but when I gave the signal for them to, all right, I've got enough, and for them to all come out, when those squads came out, I was like, where do I run? So I got
nowhere to go.
I got the adrenaline dump, and I wasn't even doing anything, and I couldn't hold the camera still, and so that was probably one of the funnest things that I've done in my career.
That's an interesting. It's fast and furious in real time.
It was,
and you were right there, gathering the evidence.
I was.
Do you remember how many arrests we made that night?
We made, I want to say, a dozen or so arrests, and we wrote 100-something tickets.
Yeah.
And we impounded a bunch of cars.
Yeah. Why is racing so dangerous, Jared?
Hey, they lose control and run over people that are out there watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go race a car, just go to a track. They have tracks where you can go pay money and do it.
There you go. And you can Google that.
I mean, for me, I don't remember you asked, but this year alone, I think we've got 14 or 15 fatalities this year alone. And I think we have filed 7 or 8 cases of manslaughter this year.
Okay.
So, and it's increasingly going up.
It's real. And any racing involved, or just people just driving reckless and speeding?
Just driving reckless and speeding.
It's a testament to the importance of just slowing down.
There's cameras everywhere.
Right.
So when we work a wreck, that's one of the first things we're doing is looking around to try to find video of the crash.
Right.
And
right. That's crazy. That's crazy. Technology today has helped us in so many different ways. Not just the technology inside vehicles, but I mean the cost efficiency of cameras at homes and businesses, as well as the technology that we use to analyze a scene. We have drones today.
Correct.
We have it's called what's the camera that you guys use?
It's
a Faro or something.
It's made by Faro.
Made it by Faro, and it just analyzes the entire scene.
It scans the scene to scale, basically.
Right.
And it's almost the way I would say it, or to point out to people is it's like when you see surveying equipment out there.
Right.
That's how it started out with me. We would do in a Leica. It was a Leica system, and you would on a tripod, and you would look through there, and you would have someone holding a pole, and you shoot the points. But now we've just gone to electronically. It's scanning it and it's taking pictures, and so we can upload it into a computer.
Here's one last question in regards to that. Why do we go to such an extent?
Just so that you can put together the best case possible. Because if we're filing a case, typically it's because someone's either seriously injured or they're deceased.
Right.
And so we're speaking for them because they're no longer here to speak for, or they can't speak for themselves.
Right, exactly.
So and on the other side, we want, just because someone dies in a crash doesn't mean that the other person did something illegal.
Right.
Accidents happen. Crazy things happen in accidents. And so we just want to, gather all the information to make a determination as to where we need to go with the investigation, whether it's criminal or it's just a tragic situation.
Right. And that's just the reality of it. Sometimes they are just accidents, or most of the time they are just accidents, but we want to make sure that we tell the story correctly.
Correct.
Gather all the stuff. All right. Well, what's one thing that you want to tell the community right now in regards to just any kind of tip or tips that the community can actually learn from?
Man, just, drive safe, pay attention, leave early. Just because you got to be there at 5 o'clock in the evening, don't leave at 4:55 and have to drive, 50, 60 miles an hour through a neighborhood to get there, to drop your kid off. Be early.
Yeah. And if you're late, guess what? You're
late.
already late.
Yeah, you're late.
Yeah.
You're not going to change it by driving 50, 60 miles an hour to get there, other than you might get a ticket,
And now you just double.
Now you're late, and you got to take more time out of your day to go deal with that.
Buy some donuts. Bring them to the boss, Well, hey, man, I thank you so much for taking time to come out on the show and just walking us through what the traffic division is, your story, how you've progressed through your career, where you are today. I've
been blessed I've had a great career.
Well, hey, man, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about our traffic division. There's so much goes on at the Garland Police Department, and we have so much more to share. So check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even on YouTube. We'll see you next time.
You are clear for long code.